Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Facebook Live. I'm Kwon. Before we get started, don't forget you can always listen to this live stream later through our Inform YouTube channel. And you can always do the same on your favorite podcast platform as well. You can also visit inform.com/podcast and then just click on the Inform Minute to access that later throughout the day. All right, let's get to everything right away. Of course, the big talker this morning is the election results of Minnesota's primaries. So we do know who won in some of the bigger races in Minnesota, and then we told you about two referendum votes that were taking place yesterday on First News. So I want to recap that for you a little bit as well. So first, we're going to start with governor's race. Current governor Tim Walz and Peggy Flanagan, the lieutenant governor, they will be taking on Republican challenger Scott Jensen and his running mate, Matt Burke. He was also a former Vikings player, and that's going to be happening in November for the general election. And then in District 4 in the state legislature, we know Kent Egan announced that he is not going to be running for re-election. And so that kind of leaves the door open for former Moorhead City Council member Dan Bomer, former TV meteorologist Rob Kupek as well. And then in Crookston, this is when we're going to start talking about those referendum votes. Voters actually rejected building a multi-sports complex. As we told you on First News yesterday, that would have included new turf, upgrades to things like seating, the track, bathrooms. But with all precincts reporting, we know 842 people are voting no, 831 voting yes. And since that difference in votes is actually less than 1%, the school board can decide to do a recount. So if they do that, of course, we'll let you know. And then we also were tracking another referendum vote in the Ulen-Hitterdal School District. Seems like voters have also decided not to go forward with that $1.75 million referendum. That was for a daycare to be built in the school there. With most recent results that we have so far, with 9 out of 12 precincts reporting 261 no votes, 97 yes votes. So that one is a little bigger of a difference than that first referendum in Crookston. All right, there is kind of like your recap of the bigger races in Minnesota and then those referendum votes as well. We're also tracking, this is something that I feel like we haven't focused as much on because I feel like, we've kind of seen the numbers go down. We know that there is kind of a growing surge right now in COVID cases in a county here in our area. We're talking about Otter Tail County. Public health leaders there and even the CDC is saying that right now that county is under a high transmission rate. So you might be thinking, okay, so we've heard about these high transmission rates before. Let's get a quick little reminder because I know that it's been a little while, right? I feel like we've, really shifted our focus right now on monkeypox or things that we've seen a rise in numbers of. And right now that just seems to be COVID in Otter Tail County. So the risk levels are all based on weekly averages of case numbers and hospitalizations. And all of those information or data is all coming from the CDC. Well, in Otter Tail County, it just passed the threshold into high risk just last week. So here are some of the latest numbers from the CDC. Right now, that county has a rate of about 270 cases per 100,000 people. They also have about 12 hospitalizations also for every 100,000 people. And then we got to look at this risk map today from the CDC as well. Right now, in our immediate area, it shows that Otter Tail County is in the highest risk, as Cass, Grand Forks, Clay, and Polk counties are all at kind of the medium risk level. So that means they're all under that 200 case threshold per 100,000 people. Now, the CDC, of course, does have some recommendations as well when it comes to protecting the people who live in high transmission rates, whether that be in Otter Tail County. Maybe you have family members who are also living in an area with high transmission rates. Of course, they're asking you to just make sure you're vaccinated, and if you can, continue to wear a mask in public places. Okay, and of course, we're going to stay on top of that for you. We'll kind of keep our eye on the numbers to see if it goes up or down in Otter Tail County, because I know that, of course, is in our immediate viewing area. So we'll stay on top of that for you, and we'll let you know what happens with that. We're going to take you back to Grand Forks now. We know that police were searching a backyard in Grand Forks yesterday, and it kind of was like an all-day project, and a lot of neighbors are thinking that this could be related to one of the city's oldest cold cases. So they were digging around 10th Street North. It was 1020 10th Street North is the address, and officers were saying that they were just kind of looking around for a criminal investigation. Well, they didn't tell us what exactly they were investigating, you know, which case is it out of the many cases that they have to look over, right? Well, a lot of these neighbors who live in that area think that it's related to the 1996 disappearance of Christy Nichol, and officers believe that she was murdered. Her dad actually lived on that street, and then Nichol, she used to play in that yard where those crews were kind of looking around, which is why neighbors, you know, kind of had that suspicion. We heard from them, and they're just really hoping that this search could bring some closure. They're still trying to figure out, you know, the mystery of it all. How did she go missing? Who, you know, murdered her, if that was the case, right? So I think a lot of them, it spurred a lot of talk and discussion, definitely, in that neighborhood yesterday. So we will let you know if they release any more details, but as far as now, that's all that we know. Also, we do have an update on one of the 4 shootings that happened in Fargo, as of course investigators right now are kind of looking into those right now. We do know that one person has been arrested for attempted murder in connection with one of the shootings that happened in Fargo on Saturday. That would be 21-year-old Braden Poitra. He was arrested just before 1 yesterday afternoon in Dilworth on an unrelated warrant from the Minnesota Department of Corrections. Now, that was a separate one, so he also got that unrelated warrant, but investigators say that he was behind a shooting near the Fleet Farm, where a 39-year-old man was shot in the arm. He's expected to be okay, so that's kind of the update that we have. The other investigations, we know police are still looking into those right now. They're still very much active investigations, so no info and no word on that just yet, but of course you can stay with us for when we do get those updates. Okay, also, Fargo School Board members, they opened up their meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance for the last time because the board did vote 7-2 to remove the pledge from the opening of their meetings. And a lot of the people who voted for, you know, getting rid of this Pledge of Allegiance before their meeting says this pledge doesn't actually really line up with the district's diversity, inclusion values, especially when they use the words under God. So instead, a lot of these board members propose that they should start with something more unifying rather than being more divided when it comes to representing their students. So we'll stay on top of that for you as well. I'm curious to see if they're going to have something else to start off their meetings and what that would be. So once we find out, I'll bring you that update. Also, lots of updates today, but really big update when it comes to the Fufeng corn milling plant in Grand Forks. Again, this is something that we've been talking about a lot because I know that a lot of people living in Grand Forks, this is the main talker every single day, almost. So that petition, the leader of a petition to bring the construction of the plant to a citywide vote, we kind of talked about this months before when found out that he had 5,000 signatures, you know, whatever was needed, but then the city actually rejected that petition despite it having those 5,000 signatures. So we do know that a lawsuit against the company is now set to go to trial next week in Devil's Lake. This lawsuit all was filed back in May, and again, this was by that same leader of that petition. So we do know attorneys on both sides, and even the judge in that case met earlier this week to kind of discuss the administrative appeal. Oral arguments will be starting next Thursday. So we'll follow this for you and let you know what happens with that as well. Also right now, this is a big one for parents in Minnesota. If you're starting to shop for back to school for your kids, if you're starting to, you know, reckon some of the items that they're going to need for the upcoming school year, you can actually save some money. And this really only applies to Minnesota parents. North Dakota parents will let you know if something like this comes your way as well. So when you're checking out at the store, you should be saving your receipts so that you can actually use them when you file your taxes. Well, the state of Minnesota right now is offering 2 tax relief programs. So using them could, of course, save you some money, or it could give you more money back on your tax returns. So to use those breaks, we know that, you know, parents, you will need to buy supplies that are actually needed for school or required materials, and your kids need to be in grades K through 12 in order to qualify for those breaks. We do know last year nearly 150,000 families took advantage of those tax breaks. So if that's something that interests you, that is available to you. Also, let's talk about road closures. This is something that we talk about almost every day too. So, of course, these crews got to get their stuff done before the cold kicks in. So right now would be the time. And of course, to August. So people are probably trying to wrap up all of their projects as soon as they can. But 10th Street North in Fargo is going to be down to 2 lanes. So there's going to be a lane closure there between 1st Avenue North and 1st Avenue South. We're not exactly sure what type of work that these crews are going to be doing. We just know that they're going to be working in that area. All of the lanes should be fully reopened before the weekend. So it should be a smooth sailing for this weekend. Grand Forks, North 4th Street is going to be closed from University to 2nd Avenue. I think right in front of City Hall there, kind of by the Grand Forks Herald building as well. If you need to get into City Hall, the sidewalk to get in will be open, so that won't be a problem. We do know crews are going to be working on utility hookups. This road should be back open by next Thursday. And then right now we know crews in Otter Tail County are working to make a stretch of highway a little bit safer for drivers, and of course that could come with some impacts on drivers as well. So we're not exactly sure. Again, this is one of those things where they didn't specify where exactly all of these lane closures would be popping up, but we do know that a lot of these lane closures will be popping up all week, and it's going to be on Highway 78 between Battle Lake and Ashby. So again, unclear the exact location, but we do know it's going to be within that proximity. We do know that crews are going to be stripping the section of the divided highway near Eagle Lake, and this all comes after the Minnesota DOT said, hey, these passing lanes they're not up to our current standards. So the markings for passing lanes will be removed, and the highway is now going to be in 1 lane in each direction. Okay, talking more on a national level of things, the House Ways and Means Committee is now able to get former President Donald Trump's tax returns. So a federal appeals judge made that decision, and that's going to allow these committee members to actually have that paperwork in their hand and see it for themselves. Trump has spent years, right, trying to prevent the release of his tax information, his tax refunds, and he always said that it was unconstitutional for a committee to review it. Well, that's what they're doing right now, but his legal team can still appeal that decision and decide to extend the litigation. So another thing that we'll be tracking for you as well. Okay, the FDA right now is warning online retailers about selling products that are marketed for removing things like moles and skin tags. So it sent some letters to a few retailers, kind of like Amazon, right, that some of their products are not FDA approved. And if they don't address those violations, they could face some legal action, like a lawsuit. So the agency says there are no FDA approved over-the-counter drugs for moles and skin tags when it comes to removing them. And then selling those products, of course, has a public health risk, as it can cause injuries, scarring, damage. So wanted to let you know about that. Maybe you buy some of those products on Amazon or any other retailer. If that's you, you should probably stop because they are not FDA approved. Okay, this is another one that I think is going to grab a lot of attention from parents. Snapchat. If you have a kid who has a phone, they probably use Snapchat to talk with their friends, whether it's, school friends or whatever, their teammates, whatever, right? Well, Snapchat is a really popular app, and right now it's rolling out this new feature for parents so that they can make sure their kids are safe when they're messaging people on this app. But what's nice about this feature, it's called the new parental control feature, or no, it's called Family Center, and it's really neat because it does still allow for these kids to have a sense of privacy. So again, this Family Center feature is going to allow these parents to see, okay, which kids are, my kids are messaging, and then not be able to actually physically see the messages themselves, which I think is kind of cool, right? Because then the kids have their privacy while parents also have a better understanding of who they're talking to. So Snapchat is saying that this feature was designed to reflect how parents would engage with their kids in the real world. So here are the requirements. Parents, you will just need to create your own Snapchat account if you don't have one already. And then those kids would also have to opt in to allow you to have access to that feature. So both sides kind of need to come to an agreement on this. But I think it's a really neat feature, especially to just keep your children safer and for peace of mind, I guess. All right, Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, 9 to 11, WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. Little Leaguers from Fargo, they're still playing. So today is kind of their day off before their next big game, which is tomorrow. So head coach is going to be joining the show from Indianapolis. How cool is that? We also know Dick Bramer is going to be joining from LA after the Twins lost to the Dodgers. So Dick Bramer, of course, is on every single Wednesday. He'll be on again today. And then it's also NDSU Media Day. And one Bison is earning some national attention. Do we have any guesses? I am very curious about that. So if you want to find out, go on Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, 9 to 11, WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. But you already knew that. Okay, before we close out, I wanted to let you know right now you can get your first 3 months. You can get an all-access pass to Inforum.com for just 99 cents a month for your first 3 months. All you gotta do is go on Inforum.com/subscribe. All right, we do have news at 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10, so make sure you come join us there. Of course, we'll be back here tomorrow morning from 5 to 7. Lydia should be back tomorrow, so that's something we can look forward to. Fargo Moorhead Pride kicks off tomorrow, so lots to talk about tomorrow, and we hope you can join us. Have a good day. Bye.